Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Pickett, she lays it off. Teresa Polias. It's an absolute peach. Ayers driving. What a hit from Melina Rose. Wow. And Sam Kerr has a hat-trick. Beat him up. 1-0. The bump fest. Someone's from the jump. Yo, I bust them in the eye. And then I'll take the bump home. Feel it. Talking. Absolutely jumping. I got more blocks in the drop than it.
Well, unlike Paramount Plus, we've got cameras here tonight.
We do.
Here on Radio Dauber on FNR, Football Nation Radio. Josh Parrish and Pokuah Frimpong. Talk to you about the week in women's football here in Australia. We've got a special guest coming up in just a moment. Dylan Holmes from Adelaide United, who spearheaded their revival and charged their first ever finals series. But the story tonight, Pokuah, is Wellington versus Western Sydney has been moved to the Wanderers training facility from CommBank Stadium after the heavy rainfall. And Paramount Plus, Channel 10, Viacom, whoever they want to call themselves, can't get cameras to the game. This game is not being broadcast as it happens as we go to air here.
You know what, Josh? Obviously, you know how I feel. I feel about the women's game. I proudly support it. It's my favourite league in the world. And I'm not surprised. Yet again, these facilitators who provide us this sport, they disappoint us yet again. Couldn't they have got someone from with an NPL camera to go down there and record it? Couldn't we have streamed it on Channel 10? You're telling me nobody could get in a van and just drive it down? Like, I know there are torrential rain, but tell me there's no cameras there at all? Like, none. We couldn't even do a single, camera each side? Like, that's it?
I hope the game will actually be filmed from at least one angle, just so we have a record that this happened, that these two teams who've both had terrible seasons as mine, it's a bottom of the table clash in torrential rain. I don't think anyone's going to really go or watch. It's not going to be high rating is what I'm saying. But it would be nice to have the goals. What if someone scores a banger?
Josh, you say that, let's hope that someone's recording it. But if someone's recording it, I know I say the NPL thing jokingly, but surely someone can commentate that game and they can just stream it on Keep Up if they're not going to put it on Channel 10. Just put it on there and just let me stream it. And, NPL stuff, it's decent enough. If we're going to watch football games and we're not going to, if you don't want to put it on Channel 10, whatever, there are problems with that alone. But surely you can't stream it on Keep Up with some level of quality if they're going to show it later.
I guess the rationale is a devaluing of the product if they don't have the quality on the broadcast.
Josh, I think they do lots of things to devalue the product, and it's also one thing is not having a longer season.
Well, this is the broadcaster versus the APL we're talking about. They're two different organisations.
Yeah, I understand.
They should be hand in glove, but
while
they're not.
we are speaking, though, Wellington did just score an equaliser. It is currently 1-1 in that game and 0-0 at the City Jets game, which are only 14 minutes in and 44 minutes respective for the Western Sydney Wellington game.
Well, I imagine most people listening on the podcast today, if you are tuning in live, let us know. But going head-to-head with the very league we're covering, we are aware of the irony.
We see them. Exactly. We see the irony.
So Ashley Crofts and Kate Taylor, the goal scorers in the Western Sydney Wellington game. More on the line in the City Jets match, with Melbourne City having drifted down to third spot on the table. They, of course, will bump up to second with a draw or anything better. This was a very interesting weekend in the A-League Women's Pokuah.
Certainly.
Namely that Adelaide United Melbourne Victory game we pinpointed last week as the one to watch. That was an eventful one.
It was, most certainly was. And you know what? Obviously Victory, we spoke about it last week and how Victory have had a lot of games. So we wouldn't have been surprised if Adelaide, got the win. But Adelaide came out 3-0 victors. And you know what? I liked Adelaide the whole way through. So I'm very, very proud of that.
Even from week one where they got battered,
Exactly.
you said they're not that bad.
I said they weren't that bad. I think it's a lot of problem with people when they watch football. They sometimes look at the end result and they look at the box score and they go, oh, this team sucks. But if you watch the game and you watch the product and they produce, Adelaide played decently well. They lost to a better team, but they got the revenge on Victory,
in emphatic fashion too.
Absolutely.
And it was a bad night for Victory, ending up with an outfielder between the sticks. Yes, she's got the height for it, but Maya Markovsky, not a goalkeeper.
Certainly not. But you know what? Maya's learning how to play football. I heard you speak on Oz Football about Jim. I'm bad with...
Yes, the 74 Socceroo that we lost. He played both as a goalkeeper and then he got a hand injury, turned into a striker.
And he was impactful on the Australian football fabric. So surely Maya Markovsky, who knows? Maybe she does an early. She's pretty young, so an early career turn into goals. Who knows?
She does a tribute to the late Jim Milosavljevic.
Exactly. You never know. I love it.
Well, second tallest player to have played in the A-League Women's ever, behind her Victory teammate
Josh,
Casey Dumont.
I know you're saying this, but I am putting a question mark on this because.
Hey, it's an Andy Howe stat. I don't argue with Andy Howe.
Okay, so Andy Howe said this, but are we sure that Claire Polkinghorne and Lydia Williams are not both taller than her? And Casey Dumont is the tallest player, so you're telling me they're both shorter than Maya Markovsky and Casey Dumont? They're pretty tall.
Maybe when they did the height measurements in preseason, they were wearing platform shoes.
Exactly, and I am 5'2", so when I do look up at people, they all look the same height eventually. So I might just be getting deceived. Also,
well, Victory coming off that run of fixtures, they looked as lethargic as you'd expect in this match. I wouldn't say it was a straightforward game for Adelaide, but it was as comfortable as it was ever going to be.
Certainly. Adelaide probably versed them at the perfect time. I still think that Adelaide, even if Victory were fully fit, I think Adelaide definitely could have brought out a win. So this is not some Wellington beating, Victory or something like that. I think they're both very competitive teams. But I think it's great for Adelaide leading into the finals. And I think for Victory, they're going to put it behind them. They've just got to focus on their Canberra game. They just need to focus on getting a draw minimum, and then they can focus and get a little bit of rest and really focus on that finals push and just, take it out.
I mean, circumstances have conspired against them to an extent, but before the season I was saying Victory to walk away with the title. And, obviously that's one big injury since then, and a lot of games packed into a short space of time and various absences that they've had to deal with. But, it was almost unthinkable at the start of the season that you would say on the last week of the A-League Women's campaign, they would be fighting for their spot in the finals.
It's going to take a lot for them not to make it, because we looked at the goal scoring and Perth would need to score at least 9 goals.
That's if Victory draw.
Yeah, if Victory draw, Perth would need to score 9 goals. And I think the most this season has been 8. Was it that Adelaide game?
Yes.
It was 8. So I don't know if Perth are the team to score 9, and they're facing Wellington, which could be possible. But I think Wellington they've
been battle hardened this year.
They've worked hard. But you know what? I still think the Victory making it to the finals is probably the best thing for the league, and they are one of the best 4 teams in the league. They are.
I mean, against Canberra, a team who's had a poor season, you'd expect them to at least get a draw. But the fact that it's even a live possibility shows how disappointing it's been for the reigning champions.
Certainly, they've had obviously the big Caleb Morrison injury, which is really disappointing for them, because I think if that one injury doesn't occur, I think it's a different situation. I don't know if they finish first. I can't see into the future, but I definitely think they are more competitive, even when they are playing a lot of games on the run, because they have that kind of leader on the pitch who can be like, guys, we're going to play this type of football just to, conserve our energy, just ride the waves as it is. And they also had to figure out where they're going to play Kyra Cooney Cross with Chidiac as well. So they had a lot of things to work with, and they did figure it out late in the season. But so long as they make
the games ended up catching up.
Yeah, exactly. So long as they make finals, has it been a terrible season, all things considered?
I think it's been a bit of a disappointment. I have to say, given the stacked squad that they had at the start of the season and, you know, so many good names on paper, there's another injury we haven't really spoken about, which is Molina Ayers.
Yeah.
And, you know, you drop her into a final series, like she could be a difference maker.
Melina Rose has got to be the biggest question mark of the entire season. Like,
what happened?
Like, constantly we keep hearing from Jeff Hopkins that, you know, she just keeps getting hit. Like, her hamstring's just not recovering, you know, in the same way they thought it would. But I've got to ask, like how bad was the injury to start with that, you know, that she keeps getting pushed back? Like, is she not...
Was there some sort of misdiagnosis?
Exactly. Like, I remember in round 1 and they were like, oh, we're just holding off for a first few weeks and then she'll be... Because it's only the first round. But we haven't seen her all season. She was a prolific player last year and she's a tremendous footballer who we spoke about when we spoke with her, about her potentially making the Matilda squad and her making that push to get into that side. So... It's a big question mark this season. Maybe
she's done a Kaseke Honda. Remember that injury that he did? It was like a one-of-a-kind hamstring tear off the bone kind of thing.
I would love to get some answers. We probably won't get any answers.
Victory notoriously closed-lipped about injuries, particularly ones that haven't been dealt with that well.
Exactly, which, you know, we don't know if it's been dealt with well or dealt with poorly, but...
We can only speculate.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to see Melina as play football. She's a tremendous footballer and she provides a lot for that Victory team. And I think having...
They don't have a clinical finisher in the side.
Imagine having her and playing off Chidiac and Kyra Cooney-Cross, how much better, even in games where they maybe conceded a few, which their defence has always typically been great. Unfortunately, this season, Kayla Morrison is out. How much better they could have been, you know, in games. Even though
it's a great what if.
Exactly.
The striker and the centre back.
It's a real Avengers Disney Plus kind of show.
Well, let's talk about Melbourne City before we go to a break. A disappointing loss to Brisbane Roar. Talking of big injuries, just how big could that Holly McNamara absence prove to be?
I was at this game. City had moments, but they never felt like they had that final push to get them to beat them. And I think Brisbane played a good game and they played a very well strategized game and they knew what they had to do. And
that's not a common thread from Brisbane this season.
No.
They set out with a game plan and they executed it perfectly and nothing went wrong.
Exactly. It was, you know, it was quite strange. But for me, as I said, I've spoken to Brisbane. I liked them. I just think I didn't think the difference between them and Adelaide was massive, but unfortunately they couldn't finish it out. But for City, I think that McNamara injury is... I think it changes everything. If we haven't seen them without McNamara, with Stoddy and Hannah Wilkinson and playing for a few games. We just haven't seen it. So
that's true. She was not the only absence.
So we don't know if maybe they can find a way to, you know, play forward, because I think for City in that game especially, they really struggled with Carriage playing up front.
She's not really a striker.
Exactly, and she came off at half-time for Chelsea Blissett. So maybe if Hannah Wilkinson was there, they finished some of the opportunities they had, because Emma Checker almost scored an absolute worldie, hit the post in the last few minutes of the game.
Yeah, I mean, without Hannah Wilkinson, you're losing one of the competition's leading markswomen.
Second in the goal-scoring race at the moment.
Yes.
Behind Fiona Watts.
Who, of course, scored a hat-trick against Melbourne Victory to go with her other hat-tricks this season. Interesting tidbit about her in the interview coming up that we recorded earlier, without wanting to step on that. That's quite a fascinating detail.
Yeah.
But Stoddy also has been a barometer for them this season in terms of the way she can control games, her leadership ability, her ability on the ball, converting from centre-back to central midfield this season as a six. She really runs things, and especially in the first hour of games where she's, you know, at her most energetic, she's made a huge impact. I think a bigger impact than anyone had a right to expect from her, given what she's gone through.
I would say, particularly in that Brisbane game, I think they actually missed Stoddy more than Hannah Wilkinson. I was speaking to someone at the game and we were looking at it, they were getting dominated in that midfield, which you don't typically see from Melbourne City. They're pretty good on the ball, and they keep teams away from the box and they play well as a unit. But with Davidson, McKenna and Westland in that midfield, they needed some level of leadership just to steady the ship and go, this is what we're going to do when we go forward and this is what we're going to do when we go back.
Well, a team with Katrina Gorry dominating the midfield, it's not a surprise.
But see, if Stoddy was in there, that's a real battle between Katrina Gorry and Stoddy, like what's going to happen, how are Brisbane going to adjust for that, and how are City going to ultimately adjust for that. City, I think it's particularly after they walked on the game with Holly McNamara's shirt, so it clearly has affected the team in some kind of way. They're going to need a little bit of time just to recalibrate and just figure out who they are without her. But so long as they've done more than a lot of people thought they were going to do at the start of the season, I believe.
Well, they're in action as we speak against Newcastle Jets, so probably too soon to say anything definitive about how
they've actually just scored, Josh.
There you go. We're getting live updates as we go to air. So.
You'll be getting when you listen to the podcast, there'll be delayed updates, but there'll be updates nonetheless.
Well, I think we'll take a break because I want to hear from Dylan Holmes, who we spoke to a little bit earlier. The Adelaide United superstar has come into that midfield and really galvanised that team, pushed them to their first ever finals appearance. And they look like a dangerous proposition in the form they're in. She spoke about the Pride round, the honour of being involved in that. Her coach, Adrian Stenter, his tidbits of philosophical wisdom
I love that tidbit. I do.
that he's a teacher outside of football. So
we also did speak about Adelaide. Can I say though,
the city, Adelaide, the city.
Yeah. Can I say though, I actually didn't know he was a teacher outside when I make the reference in the thing. So when she said it, I was so taken aback by it. I was like, "Geez,
you're spot on."
I don't know what I know.
ESP.
Exactly.
Geez. There's so many good bits in this interview. I think we should stop promoting it and just cut to it. So we'll go to a short break and come back with our chat with Dylan Holmes.
We are more than engineers. We are more than project managers. We are more than surveyors. We are more than infrastructure specialists. We are more than planners. So, who are we? We are problem solvers, providing the highest quality service and results. We are a team of skilled professionals, focused on customer needs and outcomes. We are 23 years of industry experience, adhering to the highest safety standards. We are Melbourne, and we are right across Victoria. We are the Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions. Lanco Group. We are more than you realise, and we are ready to partner with you.
Pickett, she lays it off. Teresa Polias. It's an absolute peach. Ayers driving. What a hit from Melina Rose. Wow. And Sam Kerr has a hat-trick. Meet him up. 1-0.
Well, a bit of movie magic tonight on Radio Dub, coming to you from the past. That's why Pokuah suddenly disappeared and appeared on Zoom instead. She hasn't just gone to the next room and got sick of me. Radio Dub here, our weekly women's football program. Josh Parrish here with Pokuah Frimpong, and we're delighted to be joined by Adelaide United superstar Dylan Holmes. Dylan, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to get you on, and this week in particular, because Adelaide seemed to have ended the hoodoo finally, finals bound. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we're all ecstatic, like so excited, and yeah, it's been a really long time coming, so we're just kind of relieved that we finally did it.
Well,
I feel like Josh, we need a little bit more energy about the Adelaide thing, because we were all cautiously optimistic, but we were all like, please don't let them be cursed again. What was the feeling like in the dressing room, Dylan, dressing room after you guys managed to clinch finals?
It was amazing. Like, it was, you know, there have been a few of us that have been there for like 5, 6, 7 seasons, and we've come close a fair few times, but yeah, it was just like relief and excitement and a bit of like energy that, you know, we're not going to be there just to make up numbers. Like, I think we all believe that we can really give it a good crack and give, you know, the Sydney and Melbourne teams a run for their money. So yeah, we're excited.
It was an emphatic victory as well. Yourself and Fiona Wirtz up front have created that sort of seamless connection. Tell us about playing with her this season. And I mean, she's just bagged so many goals. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, she's flying at the moment. I'm so happy for her. I think last year she had a bit of a difficult season with she actually had some visa requirements where she was doing some like farm work during the day. So there were times she'd come to training and she'd just be so exhausted. But this year, she's had a really good preseason. She's looking fit and strong, and every week she's just looking more and more confident. And I think her in front of goal is terrifying for opposition teams because she's just so clinical. She's so fun to play with.
At what point during the season did you guys really think that finals was like a realistic option, or was it kind of like you always like thought at this during preseason we feel pretty good about making finals this year?
Yeah, well, I wasn't actually here until I think 3 games into the season. So I'm not really sure what the vibe was like through preseason, but I think for me, I kind of felt like we had a good chance after we had a run of 3 games where we beat Wellington, Western Sydney, and Newcastle all in a row with no goals conceded or something like that. And that was, at that point, I was like, okay, like we're beating the teams we need to beat. We're being pretty strong defensively. Like, I think we have a pretty good shot at this. But I think it was just making sure we won the games that we were expected to win against the teams below us. Like, we couldn't afford to drop points against those teams. And luckily, we pretty much haven't. So it's been really good.
Well, big turnaround coinciding with your arrival, Dylan. I don't know how much credit you want to take for it, but going from shipping 5 against Victory in round 1 to beating them 3-0 on the weekend, that's a significant progression.
Yeah, I think that's the really cool thing about this group is that every week we've gotten better and better and more comfortable with each other. And I think it's a credit to the girls and the coaching staff for, not dropping our heads after those first couple of games and picking ourselves back up and getting to this point now where we're, ahead of Melbourne Victory on the table after losing to them like 5-1 in the first round. So, it's been a really cool turnaround. And yeah, I'm really like proud to be a part of it.
I will say on that 5-1 loss to Victory, I think that's a deceiving scoreline because I think me and you spoke about it, Josh, where I was like, they actually played decently well. I think that Victory are just maybe got lucky on that day, but I think that's a very deceiving scoreline. Now, in terms of the finals, what changes in a club heading to finals? Like, do you guys do stuff differently, or do you try to keep it like really, really the same?
I think for us, like, it's kind of on, like, it's great that we've like qualified, but now it's a bit on the back burner because we're playing, like, we still have one more regular season game to go against a team that's going to be in the finals as well. So it's a bit of an interesting, like, I guess, preparation because, you want to play a strong team, but depending on how Melbourne City does tonight, we might be locked in at 3rd going into this weekend anyway. So I'm really not sure how the coaching staff is going to approach it, but and it's a unique position for us to be in. Like, I've never experienced this before. So I think, for me, I just want to give everything in those games and just keep winning and keep the momentum going.
Oh, what a luxury to be in that position this season rather than stressing on the goal difference like previous campaigns.
Oh my goodness. That was terrible. That was terrible.
I mean, there must be such a turnaround in morale and so forth from last season where you missed out. You were so close, and to make it this time must be such a relief.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it almost would have been more frustrating if we didn't make it this year, just because I think we all learned a lot from last year. And I think going into this season and going into games, like, the mentality we have this year compared to last year is a little bit more ruthless, I'd say. Like, we're not, I think when we play away games, normally that's been tough for us, but this year we've been winning on the road, which I think is a good sign. And, seeing out leads and so I think last year was tough, but I think, we learned a lot, and I think we've used that to our advantage this year.
You're also a player you played in the A-League Women's and formerly the W League essentially throughout your whole career, and you've had trips abroad and stuff like that. What's something that you miss about playing at home, and what's something you love when you play, overseas?
Ooh, I've only ever played in Adelaide in the W League, but I love the vibe playing at Adelaide. Like, whether it's at Martin or at Cooper's, like, such a family friendly atmosphere. Like, the supporters really get behind us, and every year it just gets better and better. And the club has really kind of every year treated us even better and better. So, when I'm playing abroad, like Adelaide will always be my hometown team and the team that I like love playing for. So yeah, I think that sense of like community and family feel I would miss playing abroad.
Before we started, you did say that Adelaide's a great city. You just got to know places to go in Adelaide. It's for us, East Coast people living our best lives in Melbourne and Sydney. Queensland, they exist. Yeah, they exist.
They're at the beach. They're doing
they're the beach. They go to the beach. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What is it to do in Adelaide that makes Adelaide a good city?
Adelaide is just, there's a bit of everything. I think the beaches are nice. You have the beaches right near the city, which are really nice. But then you also have the southern beaches, which are a bit more of like the surfing kind of beaches. You have 2 or 3 different wine regions right around the city. So there's so many good restaurants and wineries, and it's just such a foodie little place. And, there's always the city of festivals or whatever. So there's normally stuff going on. And I think if you don't know where to go, like it's definitely going to be boring. But if you do, and you've been in Adelaide for a while or know somebody that has been, like it's a really cool little place. I love Adelaide.
Okay.
You speak.
I don't know if you convinced me, Josh. I don't know. Maybe I'll drive through and I'll be like, you know what? That looks all right. I'll see.
Yeah, no, I think you got to give it a shot.
So speaking about the family-friendly atmosphere and the welcoming atmosphere, I think we saw at this weekend in particular with the Pride round. I mean, what did it mean for you to participate in that?
Yeah, that was like, I'm really honored that I got to be a part of that game. And I think it's a long time coming. And I think the way Adelaide United handled it, not just the day itself, but the lead up and the media and everything surrounding it, I think they did really well and really graciously. And I think overall it was a fantastic day. And the fact that we won and the boys won after us, it was just, it was pretty perfect in the end. And I hope that, other clubs can kind of take notice and maybe try and implement similar things in the future. But I think it was a great, first step for Adelaide United to put on that Pride game.
I mean, Josh Cavallo's got so much press this year, and rightly so. He's been so brave in what he's done, being the first. But we can't ignore the fact that the W League, or the A-League Women, has had out and proud players for years and years and years, and has been a real forerunner in that regard in Australian sport.
Yeah, I think it's been an interesting week with kind of the discussions around that, because I think, in my experience and the experience of my friends and my teammates, we've always felt like women's football has been a safe space, and it's been a very inclusive environment, and those differences have always been celebrated. And I think with Josh coming out, it's kind of put a light on the different, landscapes that each, team is facing. And I think it just shows that there is still a long way to go on the men's side. But it's really been interesting actually to kind of see those differences. But it was really nice to come together on that day on Saturday and kind of celebrate it.
I think it's amazing. Like, I think that men's football's got a lot to learn from women's football. I'm just, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I play women's football anyway, where they're great athletes and deserves a lot more praise. This season, there was a discussion with your Adelaide teammates about, players having to work at McDonald's and also being a professional footballer. What was that like to hear the conversation around it, and what was the discussions like within your own team?
Yeah, that's been another interesting thing, because again, that's not an issue that's new. I think that's always been the case. And to be honest, right now it's probably been as good as it's ever been in terms of, the resources that we're given and payment and that sort of stuff. But I think the fact that, Fiona can score 5 goals in a game on a Sunday in Brisbane and then, straight back to McDonald's on Monday morning, I'm glad that story got the reaction it did, because, she's in the high of her career right now, and she should be given the platform to be able to focus solely on football. And at the moment in Australia, that's just not the case. So, it's frustrating for all of us. And for me to see that story, like it was frustrating because, you know, if this was full time, we would all 100% want to do it full time. But for now, it's just not the case. So yeah, I think it's amazing that she's doing as well as she is in an environment that isn't full time. Like it's a huge credit to her to be able to do everything she's doing.
I will say we are fans of extend the season. We believe in it. We are strong. Me and Josh, strong part. We respect it a lot.
Thank you.
I need more games of the A-League women's. It's great, stuff like that. But yeah, Josh, I did interrupt you. I saw you.
I was just going to say, you know, at least on the bright side, Fiona doesn't have to do the farm work anymore. So you know,
that's it. Yeah, I think she would choose McDonald's every time.
But I'm going to ask though, Fiona's a genius mathematician, is what I got out of it as well. Mm-hmm. Is she like playing like, you know, doing these like maths like joke, like, you know, I don't know what these quizzes are that mathematicians do.
She's doing the geometry in her head.
Exactly. Yeah. I can barely count to 10 half the time. So like, is she just like the smartest person in the team? You're like,
what are the other hidden talents among the Adelaide United playing group?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Fiona is like an insane mathematician, which to be honest, like I didn't actually know until like she told me, just because, you know, she's not going to whip out math. I don't know. It's a bit of a lame thing.
Well, the scores in football are very easy to keep track of.
Very,
you know, 1-0, 2-0.
Yeah. There's not a lot of opportunity for her to whip that out. But, you know, we also have Izzy Hodgson, who's like an incredible performer. She grew up doing like musical theater and singing. And so she's like incredibly talented off the field. Trying to think of anyone else. Those are the two like big ones that I can think of right now.
Talent, though. I respect that. That's takes a lot of dedication.
Yeah. And that might come out from time to time on away trips and things, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like her initiation performances are like they would be pretty good. And I think with Izzy, like I grew up playing with her, and so she's always kind of dedicated, like given herself the space to do both, which I think is really cool because she is like so talented in both areas. So yeah, I think it's cool that she can do that.
Do you have any like hidden talents? Like, is there a trick that you can do, or like we might see from Dylan Holmes in
or
the
a
next
hobby off the pitch that we didn't know about?
Oh no, I mean,
pretty busy really. Balancing both top level football.
Yeah, and especially like last year being in Sweden, like it was just so full time that I'm a bit boring. I don't really have any hidden talents, I'm afraid.
But maybe maybe your hidden talent could be the next business idea for you is setting up a tour venture in Adelaide where you show people where they're supposed to go in Adelaide.
Yeah, I think so. Show stubborn interstaters who don't believe that Adelaide is a good place to be. Yeah. Okay, done. I'm on it.
That's it. You've got it.
Well, I object to the remark that you're boring because you've got actually a very interesting upbringing and family history. I mean, listening to your accent, a lot of people would assume you're another one of these American imports that have come just to play in the A-League Women's, but you've lived here since you were 10?
Yeah. No, one of the commentators apparently was calling me American on the weekend, and I was like, I'm definitely Australian, but I guess I am a bit American as well. But I just can't shake the accent. I don't really know what to do.
Don't undersell yourself. You're also Brazilian as well. Let the people know you're also Brazilian.
Yeah, tell people who don't know the story.
Okay,
including
so
us.
My dad, no, that's okay. My dad worked in, he was a mining engineer. And so we spent a bit of time in South America through my childhood, and I was born in Brazil. And I've also lived in Santiago, Chile, and in southern Peru as well. And then we spent some time in the States. He's English, so we spent a little bit of time in the UK when I was a kid, and then ended up in Adelaide and have been here ever since.
So that whole map to Adelaide, I don't know if anybody would have picked it. Like if you were doing a quiz, I don't think anybody would be like, guys, they were.
It's a fairly circuitous route to take to Adelaide.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because some of the places we could have ended up, like Adelaide is definitely, we hit the jackpot, I think. We're feeling pretty lucky.
Okay. You know what? She's convincing me as we're going on, Josh. I'm like, maybe Adelaide.
I think you should give it a chance. Yeah.
Okay. I don't like beaches, one, because I can't swim, and two, I hate sand. So the beaches aspect might not be it for me. But if they've got good food places, I might.
Really good food.
Really
good food. Yeah. Very foodie little place.
I like it.
Well, let's talk about your national team aspirations. You've been in camps and so forth for the Matildas. You've been on the fringes of it. And you've been overseas, of course, to play in Scandinavia, pushed yourself in that regard. With a Women's World Cup coming up next year, that must be the priority for you to try and get in the squad.
Yeah, I think that World Cup is it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I think, at this point, I have nothing to lose by giving it a shot. So I think my next year and a half will be kind of trying to do everything I can to put myself in the best position to crack into that squad. But it was a really cool experience getting my first cap last year, and it kind of showed me what it takes to be at that level. And it was really eye-opening for me, and I loved it. I had a really great time.
In terms of making that next jump to be a more permanent member and consistent member of the Matilda squad, what in terms of your football do you think you might need to tweak and just get a little bit better, just so it's it's hard for them to say no, we need to have Dylan in the team?
Yeah, maybe I think it was hard last year. I didn't get a lot of game time. So right now, coming into the season, I was a bit underdone. So I think just getting that kind of physical resilience, I guess, being able to really run out games and really dictate things from the start to the finish. That's kind of been the aim for me coming back. So it's been nice to have so many games in a really short period to kind of get that really quickly. But I think for me, that's the next step, is to be more, I guess, imposing and physically able to kind of keep that level through a whole game.
What's the difference in level between here and Sweden, was it, where you were?
Yeah.
In terms of professionalism, in terms of standard, etc.
Yeah, I was really lucky. I ended up at one of the best club in Sweden in terms of the resources they give their women's team and the facilities and everything. I was playing full time. I'd go to the training center, I'd get breakfast, we'd train, then we'd get lunch, and then we'd have meetings or gym or whatever. It was a job. The professionalism was incredible. I felt like a full-time footballer. So I think, and that was probably the best environment in Sweden. But overall, the fact that they have a full season, 22 games plus cup, and then if your team's in the Champions League, you have Champions League as well. I think the A-League Women's has a long way to go to get to that kind of point where teams are playing, at least 20 games a year. I think that's where it needs to be. So for me, Sweden was a really amazing kind of insight into what it's like to be a full-time footballer. It was really cool.
In terms of after this season with Adelaide, what's your plans for the rest? Or have you not established what you're going to do after the rest of the season?
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't really established what I'm going to do. I think the one thing I do know is that I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I don't know for how long, but it's been a bit of a crazy year and a half. So I'm looking forward to having a few weeks of away from football a little bit. But I'm looking into my options and potentially looking for something in Europe in the middle of the year, so the European summer. But again, last year's move to Sweden happened so quickly and kind of out of the blue that I'm being pretty open-minded about it. So I'm really not sure what's going to happen.
There you go. Dylan Holmes, open to off-season offers.
Yeah.
But you've got an important finals campaign to come before then. Best of luck with it. You've got a number of quality teams that you could face. The final permutations are still being decided. Who do you see as the team to beat? You've played them all this season. Which is the team that you think poses the biggest challenge to the title?
We haven't actually played Sydney FC yet.
My mistake.
So I'm really, we haven't.
Please, look at the schedule.
Of course, because they didn't leave New South Wales all year. That's right.
That's it. So we haven't actually played them. So I'm really curious. They've obviously been amazing through this whole year. But I always feel like you never quite know what a team's like until you're kind of out there playing against them. So I'm excited to see us up against them and kind of see where we're at. And but yeah, I'd guess Sydney probably. I think they've been pretty consistent through the whole year, and yeah, a lot of experience behind them. So they'll be tough.
You know what, Josh? I was like, I'm on that Sydney. I think Sydney are the team to beat, but I was so hoping Melbourne City would finish top of the table.
Well, just so we could have the home grand final here in Melbourne.
Absolutely, Josh. Absolutely.
Selfish.
That's all I wanted. I wanted the home grand final. Come on.
Yeah.
It would have been fantastic.
Wait, so does it not work out that the winner of the 1v2 game hosts the grand final, or is it just whoever wins the minor? Yeah.
I was just, looking ahead thinking.
You wanted the home semi-final as well.
I wanted okay. Yeah.
Victory in City, unlucky. It's okay. It's fine. I'll watch it on TV. It's okay. I'll be okay.
Not the same as being there, unfortunately.
Not the same.
One of your teammates we haven't spoken about is Chelsea Dauber, who's exploded onto the scene this year. What is it, 10 goals she's scored? It's been an incredible improvement from her. Rapid down the wing. She's always a good target for a pass when she's making runs like that.
Yeah, no, she's one that if I see her in space out on the wing, like I'm just trying to get the ball to her because I know how like deadly she is in front of goal and how good she is in one-on-one situations. But I've played with Chelsea for a really long time, so it's I've seen her kind of grow up a little bit over the last like 5-10 years, and for me, like she has so much potential and so much talent, so it's really awesome to see her like I guess performing so well and so consistently. I think she's always had a few issues with injuries that have kind of it's been tough for her to kind of find that rhythm, and I think this year she's found it, and she's just doing such an amazing job for us. So I'm really happy for her, and her and Fiona up there, it's a dream to play with them. Like they're both so good. So it's happy days for me in the midfield.
I was also very impressed with your coach when you were down here. Speaks very well, and he's a young coach as well. He's developing, and this group strikes me as a team that is quite well drilled and quite disciplined.
Yeah, and he's been with us. Like he was Ivan's assistant for 2 years, so he knew a lot about us before he took the role over. And I think the great thing about Adrian is that he is so open to learning and improving. Like he's not the kind of coach that's set in his ways or his way or the highway kind of guy. Like he's very reflective and is always looking for ways that he can get better, like not just us but himself too. So I think that creates an environment where everybody is looking to improve and wants more. Like we're so excited we made finals, but the first thing he said to us is like, we're not here to just make numbers. Like we can win this thing. Like we can beat any team on any day. So yeah, he's been great. I really enjoy playing for him, and I'm really happy for him that we've kind of gotten that success for him. So it's been really nice.
Adrian Sensor gives off like a real cool teacher vibe, like if you're a high school, he's like your high school, like cool humanities kind of vibe. Like he's got it won't be like too strict, but if we're doing work, we're doing work, but we can all take it, have a good time.
I think that's exactly it. Like you can definitely tell that he is a high school teacher, but he's funny. He like his pregame chats, like we always make fun of him because he gives us these like quotes from famous people. And I think one game last year, I'll never forget this. It was a quote from like the Pope or something. In our pregame. Yeah, it was the most bizarre thing ever. But like stuff like that, and you're like, okay, like you're a teacher.
I like that. I've not heard that before. But is he writing quotes on the board where is that okay?
Yeah, so we get a quote every week from somewhere he's seen something, or heard something or read something. We got one from this like 19th century Italian book that he read as a kid. I don't know where he gets his inspiration from, but like a lot. I love it. I think it's great, and every week they're like so fitting to like what like the position that we're in and like the mindset that we need. So like I think it's funny, but it's good.
So anybody watching, listening, Hallmark of being a great coach, great quotes from the 19th century or whenever.
Yeah.
Hallmark.
That's
I see what
Italian
you did there,
literature.
Pokuah.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Well, Dylan, you've certainly provided us with some inspirational words tonight. We really appreciate your time, and we wish you best of luck in the finals campaign. Adelaide, the feel-good story of the season, and you fully deserved it.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
We'll take a
Great
break
having you on.
here on Radio Dub. Come back with more.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
We are more than engineers. We are more than project managers. We are more than surveyors. We are more than infrastructure specialists. We are more than planners. So, who are we? We are problem solvers, providing the highest quality service and results. We are a team of skilled professionals, focused on customer needs and outcomes. We are 23 years of industry experience, adhering to the highest safety standards. We are Melbourne, and we are right across Victoria. We are the Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions. Lanco Group. We are more than you realise, and we are ready to partner with you.
Cambiasso. This is where Argentina can be very patient indeed. I've watched their youth teams do this. Just play the ball endlessly around the edge of their opponent's penalty area, then suddenly break with devastating consequences. Saviola, Cambiasso. Cambiasso! They've done it! They've done it! And scored a fantastic goal! How many passes did they put together there? You'd need a calculator.
FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Maloney takes, and it's in! It's Ben Watson! It's Ben Watson for Wigan Athletic! They've surely won the FA Cup! For Dave Whelan, for Roberto Martinez! You just cannot write scripts like this!
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Pickett, she lays it off. Teresa Polias! It's an absolute peach. Ayers driving. What a hit from Melina Rose! Wow! And Sam Kerr has a hat-trick. Beat him up, 1-0.
Pleasure to catch up with Dylan Holmes of Adelaide United a little earlier today. They, of course, train in the evenings, part-time footballers, the sacrifices they make. We've got a real insight into that.
They did train twice today. They trained in the morning. She'd let us know.
Double sessions.
Yeah, double sessions. But you know what? That's the work ethic of professional footballers and, female footballers who do it a little bit tougher sometimes.
Well, we heard Fiona Wirtz, her story was all over the media, working at the Macca's drive-thru after scoring 5 goals. But it turns out, that's not the worst job she's had in Australia.
No. Working on a farm, might be scenic, but I don't...
That is back-breaking labour.
That is honestly 100%... The Wi-Fi is a bit shoddy as well, so the Wi-Fi is my biggest concern. The work, difficult.
But she was so physically exhausted, apparently.
Yeah, no wonder she couldn't, be able to continue for even though the dub season is shorter, even though that's probably why she couldn't, keep it up. But working at Macca's, good on Macca's.
Well, I'd certainly like to see her, put her qualifications to good use, and it's a shame. That these are the sacrifices that someone travelling halfway across the world to play football and chase the dream has to make. But that was an incredible tidbit, as was the revelation that Adrian Stenter is in fact a teacher and gives them a sort of Dead Poets Society inspirational quote before every game.
Do you know what I would love? Our resident video creator, Lockie Flanagan, I would love him to do a Dead Poet Society thing with Adrian Stenter's face on there. And then we have all the Adelaide players' faces on, oh, captain, my captain. That would be
my coach.
I would love it. I feel like that should be Lockie's next project. It'd be great content.
Oh, man. We have to make that happen. Speaking of sensational content, we were decrying before we started the show the absence of coverage of the Western Sydney Wanderers Wellington Phoenix game, which is at the last minute moved to the Wanderers training facility. There's only one man we can turn to in such times of crisis, and that is Mr. Teo Pellissieri, who has braved the elements, who has gone to the ground and is giving us voice memos.
I wish we could do a live cross. Hey, Teo, can you pick up the phone, please? And, we get him on just, commentating the game right now.
I mean, I don't, want him to get in trouble with his employer.
No, I don't want him to get
but shall we have a listen to Teo's descriptions of what's gone on at the Wanderers training facility so far tonight?
Certainly.
So Western Sydney Wanderers off to a fantastic start, scoring in just the 3rd minute. Ashley Crofts netting once again, 2 games in a row for her now. Can't help but think how different Wanderers' season may have been had she not missed a significant chunk of the season in COVID protocol. On the end of a cross from Erica Halloway in from the right. It's been a fairly brisk end-to-end start. Wellington Phoenix challenging themselves and immediately trying to find an equaliser of their own, but it's an ideal beginning for Western Sydney Wanderers. Wellington needed to win by 3 clear goals today to overtake them on the table. Right now it is Wanderers in the ascendancy, and it is their lone striker, the number 18, Ashley Crofts, that has them in the ascendancy. 5.5 minutes at the time of recording. Western Sydney Wanderers 1, Wellington Phoenix 0.
I love it. Tayo's my favourite commentator on Channel 10. I think he's absolutely amazing and provides a lot for the women's game and the men's game as well. But I love that. I love that from Tayo. It's very Tayo-esque. I think it's great, wisdom. I appreciate it, and keep it coming, Tayo.
This is a throwback. This is something everyone must understand about, his career, is that he started off doing bootleg internet radio broadcasts of women's games that were not being put to air, much like this match. This used to be a regular occurrence in this division. And, this is a throwback to the old days.
Tayo deserves it. I don't want to turn into a Tayo fan club, but Tayo does. In terms of women's football, he deserves a lot of props because he's been one of the active voices about women's football getting more coverage and getting more exposure and giving, female players the opportunity to speak. And I think that, it's great that Channel 10 have, brought him on this year because he's done a tremendous job. Him and Grace Gill and Amy Chapman and the likes have done a fantastic job with those games on.
Should we listen to his description of Kate Taylor's equaliser?
Absolutely. I want to hear it.
Equaliser for the Wellington Phoenix in the 38th minute. Kate Taylor netting it for the first time in A-League Women's. The centre-back had stayed forward after a set piece. Second-time ball from Izzy Gomez, the former Wanderer, into the penalty area. And Taylor showing great nous to spring the offside trap as the Wanderers' defence stepped up. She was left one-on-one against Sarah Langman. And after an initial block from Langman, the ball did spill. And with Langman on the deck, it was Taylor who stepped over the prone keeper to finish into an empty net. 1-1 in the 38th minute.
I will say, though, quite impressive, the audio quality. I was expecting it to be like, holding your phone like this and getting some real
ruffling.
static and really getting that ambient noise. But Taylor's really got his voice crisp on this one, hasn't he?
Maybe he's brought his audio gear.
He might have. I don't doubt that at all. And it's very nice. And I think it's nice for us to keep up with the game like that.
Well, we were watching while we had that pre-record. We were taking a sneak peek at that Melbourne City match in control against the Newcastle Jets.
I think that having Stoddy had that beautiful turn on that left-hand side where she just got away from her player, and it was a really nice piece of football there, and Hannah Wilkinson's looking really dangerous up front at the moment. So they are at halftime last we saw, so I don't know if they're back yet, but I think that they might figure it out without Holly McNamara, but I don't know if they can, go the whole way without her.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Newcastle don't pose the kind of test that the other, the members of the top four do, especially when Newcastle have benched one of their best players in their Norwegian import, who was described as a teenager as their best prospect alongside Caroline Graham Hansen, which is high praise. I mean, her career hasn't panned out as maybe she and her youth coaches over in Norway might have expected, but she scored the goal of the season, in my opinion. That pile driver of a strike, and it does confuse me unless there's an injury issue why she's been benched for this one.
But the season is almost over, so she might be going back to Europe. So it might be letting her rest and make sure they don't risk anything, particularly if they're not going to make finals.
Yeah, that's possible. ABD Stadium for that one, pretty. I mean, there's a couple of cameras, but it's fairly NPL standard, that broadcast,
saying, Josh.
which I think backs up your point from
Come on,
earlier.
chuck it on a camera and put it on Keep Up, and let's stream this thing. Let's all be YouTubers today. Come on.
Well, Tayo's leading the charge in that regard.
Josh, I feel like we should let people know that we've got some exciting content coming up in the next few weeks heading into the finals on the Radio Dub.
Yes, we're going to be going down in person to do some content with the finals-bound teams that we can get access to here in Melbourne, and hoping to get a few players on board ahead of this final series. It's going to be a cracker. I'm especially looking forward to maybe challenging some of the Melbourne City team.
I'm competitive, Josh.
Yeah.
And we've been planning, we've been talking about it before the show today, of some of the ideas we could do. And if anybody's got any ideas, please don't, let FNR know, and we'll think about it.
Notoriously competitive environment in that house with all the Queensland players in it. So we might challenge them to a game of cards or a crossbar challenge. I'm looking forward to that.
Exactly. If there's any particular players you'd like us to, chat to, that'd be nice too,
Yeah. Give us a recommendation.
If you see Josh, more likely, Josh is more recognisable than me. You might see him on the Preston stream.
I'm not sure about that.
I think you've done a great job. So
thank you very much. Let's preview the games to come in the final round. This will decide the finals race. Friday, first of all, with Canberra taking on Melbourne Victory. That's a crucial game for Victory to win. They simply have to get it done. They
just have to draw, Josh. They just have to draw, which I think they're good enough to draw. But if you come in there with that mindset, that's not a good mindset to come with. That Victory game is going to be dangerous for them. But as
Wellington take the lead against Western Sydney and Melbourne City extend their lead against the Jets.
You know how much I would love to see Wellington not finish bottom of the table, considering how much we spoke about them earlier in the season.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't expecting much from this side of essentially teenagers. A few contenders for Young Player of the Season in their ranks, of course, but not much else to play for them other than pride. And they have shown pride this season. Wellington versus Perth Glory on Friday. You expect Perth to win that one. By how much is the question, and will it be enough? probably not. But unless Victory lose against Canberra United, that's the permutation. Newcastle Jets versus Brisbane Roar is essentially a dead rubber. Melbourne City playing against Western Sydney. That should be a banker for them, given how
might
Western
rest some people actually as well, because
Well, it's an interesting conundrum because they have to sew up second spot for the finals race, which is important.
They would rather. It depends on after that Friday game. They're going to really need to decide who they want to play in the finals, because it's all really up to them, because they've got to. That's their last game.
And then the pick of the games, Adelaide United versus Sydney FC.
Oh, I'm so excited for that game.
Yeah.
So excited.
That one's on Sunday afternoon, kicking off at 4 p.m. That's a home game for Adelaide, if I'm not mistaken. So Sydney haven't been as strong on the road.
No.
But then again, Adelaide having sewn up their final spot, they've got to decide what's most important, whether they rest players, whether they go for that seeding.
For a team like Adelaide, I think it would be bad to change, the way in which they're going. I think they just got to keep playing their football and seeing it out the best way they can.
Well, I think with that, we'll wrap it up here on Radio Dub. Pokuah, thank you for your company. And
Josh,
big thank you to Dylan Holmes for joining us.
Absolutely. It was a great interview. I loved it.
Well, it's only going to get bigger here on Radio Dub with the finals approaching. Stay tuned for some killer content. We're very excited about it. But for now, from us, it is goodbye.
Pickett, she lays it off. Teresa Polias